This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning. We also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 22nd of November 2022, and I am GK.
I am MC Squared.
And I am 2J. And in case you missed today's headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, Ruto plots to take full control of Parliament. In the Standard, the Maize Rebellion. The Star, Baby Pendo. New evidence implicating top cops emerged. And in the People Daily, grade 7 learners to stay in primary. GK, why don't you kick us off with your thoughts on the Daily Nation?
Yes. So today the Daily Nation tells us that President William Ruto wants to take control of the National Assembly. In what reads like a bit of a forewarning of what's to come, the nation spends time telling us how Ruto intends to create an absolute majority in the National Assembly. Let's look at how he might do this. To achieve 2/3 majority, Ruto needs to have 233 MPs. He currently has 179, but he has already managed to secure the support of another 10 of the 12 elected independent candidates. This puts his total at about 189 MPs. This means that Ruto only needs 44 MPs to get to 2/3 majority. If he takes the 28 Jubilee MPs from Azimio, it would mean that Ruto would need just 16 more MPs to get to 2/3. This is very achievable. The question that we must contend with, however, is this: whether it is a good thing for Ruto to have an absolute majority in the National Assembly, or whether it is a bad thing. In our view, it all depends on President Ruto. On one hand, absolute majorities are important for a leader because they allow the president the space to achieve his agenda without the constant pushback. There are countless examples of presidents who have failed to achieve their aims because of a divided assembly. When you look at it that way, it is important, especially because right now, Kenya needs bold action. And the truth is, without this majority, Ruto will not be able to realize a bottom-up economy. But on the other hand, President Ruto left with all that power cannot necessarily always be a good thing. Allow me to elaborate. There are a number of bills that can only be passed by an absolute majority in Parliament. These include motions to impeach the President and Deputy President, allocate county revenue, and change county boundaries. The most important power the 2/3 majority unlocks is the power to change the constitution within Parliament. And from changing term limits to adding counties, Kenya Kwanza seems more eager to change our constitution than they are to address the drought or the cost of living. But that is not all. To have an absolute majority means to have a weak opposition. And that can be dangerous. Without a strong opposition to hold Ruto to account, he can do virtually whatever he wants. He can become a dictator in waiting and return Kenya back to being a de facto one-party state. Is that good for country? Therefore, the absolute majority is not the problem. It is about who wields it. And that man will be President Ruto. The only question is, do you trust him?
And the thing is, if he only has to get a couple more MPs, that could be the difference between a few cars here and there, maybe some per diem, some sitting allowances. Who knows? It's actually quite easy to get that absolute majority.
Some lunch.
Now on to the Standard. Today I would like to share a theory called the Thucydides Trap. Now this trap was first identified by the ancient Greek historian Thucydides himself when he observed the Peloponnesian Wars. Now, he saw that a rise in Athens instilled a fear in Sparta that made war inevitable. Now this trap suggests that when one great power threatens to displace another, war is likely. And in modern times, this trap has actually been proven to be true. In the past 500 years, 16 instances where a rising power threatened to displace an already ruling one, 12 of those cases ended in war. So why do I bring this up? We have said before that the Ruto presidency is a Kalenjin presidency. Fact. But it also begs the question, is there enough room for Gema and the Rift Valley to share power? In my view, The Kikuyu Kalenjin power struggle is the makings of this Thucydides trap. What happens when the crafty politics of the Kalenjin nation unseats the 20-year rule of the Kikuyus?
Good question.
War is inevitable. And by this, we mean political war. But is Ruto bold enough to downsize Kikuyus? Does he need them to secure 2027? Or have all debts been paid and it is every community for themselves? In our view, if we pay attention, the president is taking a slow and cautious approach.
Yeah.
And maybe the maize scandal is part of his plan. Consider the following. Which communities are disproportionately affected by the importation of maize and the use of GMO crops? Why has the government chosen to import maize during the peak harvesting season?
Good question.
Who is the villain in this scandal? And what will the political outcome be? Now, the answers to these questions are actually quite simple. It is likely that the downsizing of Kikuyus will begin slowly and with one victim at a time. And this week's victim is Moses KURIA. It doesn't matter that UDA MPs and a UDA minister are reading from different scripts.
Yeah.
Perception is what matters. Moses KURIA appears like an out-of-touch millionaire, while Rift Valley MPs are heroes in the eyes of the people.
Absolutely.
On top of it, 30 MPs from the Rift and Western regions have united to question KURIA's decisions. And the MP for Pokot South has told Country that he's going to collect signatures to remove KURIA from his post. The country's breadbasket has united and Moses KURIA has been set up. As for the political outcome, this scandal has shed light on how some UDA members really feel. That same South Pokot MP shared some interesting thoughts with the media today.
I want to call the minister to stop with immediate effect. I'm going to petition tomorrow Parliament so that Parliament can also weigh on this issue, that the minister should stop. And if he doesn't stop, we'll tell the farmers, and he will see the wrath of farmers. You can't. What is the rationale of importing maize when we are harvesting? I mean, I don't know whether the Waziri lives in this country. That's why members of Parliament were asking us that we should have a minister from where the maize are grown, so that he feels the pinch.
What does that mean? We should have a minister from where the maize is grown. Was that a Freudian slip of the tongue? Is the strain of power sharing building in the rift? Or has maize become a uniting factor between Ruto and the opposition? Now, the lesson from Thucydides is that power is a jealous institution and must be fought for.
Yeah.
And it is called a trap because the fear of losing one's power causes an extreme reaction in order to preserve it. Right now, Gema is in a shaky position. Yes, they made William Ruto president, but now he is in State House.
Oh, yeah.
Is he expected to share and compromise with them eternally? The mistake Gema will make is thinking that they are sharing the presidency with the Kalenjin nation. They are not equals. But if Ruto initiates a breakup, will Gema have an extreme reaction in order to preserve their power?
Wow. Excellent. Talking of Gema again. In 2022, this year, Kikuyus was central for Ruto's victory, as Tujay has told us. But come 2027, we fear they may find themselves in isolation.
Okay.
Worse still, Country may gang up against them like they did in 2007. Is such a reversal of fortune possible? It seems at this early stage that Kikuyus are sensing a shift. Let me explain. Last week, we submitted that Raila is secretly talking to President William Ruto. Today, I am convinced that the two are in conversation. And I say this because before Iyala elections, Raila had been very silent. He refused to comment about the current state of insecurity, and he said nothing about GMOs until after Iyala elections. But more importantly, is that during Iyala elections, Kalenjins in UDA supported Winnie Odinga for the Iyala seat. Are they charmed by Winnie Odinga? I don't think so. In politics, we say things do not happen. They are made to happen. If the Kalenjins voted for Winnie Odinga, it is because they were instructed. And this brings us to the next question. Why, against Ruto's wishes, did UDA Kikuyus vote for a Kikuyu from Jubilee? Our hypothesis here is that the House of Gema is being forced to regroup. And they will regroup within UDA the same way they regrouped within Jubilee to become Tanga Tanga and Kieleweke. The creation of power blocks can be a good thing and can also be a bad thing. We say so because UDA and the Hustler Nation was a formation against the dynasties.
Absolutely.
And it worked. If Kikuyus form their own power block within UDA, what will be the object of aggression? It will only usher in the Kikuyu Isolation. Maybe they have sensed the isolation coming. Is that why Kikuyus have started misbehaving and digging small holes in UDA? Back to Winnie Odinga. Why did Kalenjin MPs unite behind her? My submission is that Ruto and Raila will revive the 2007 Pentagon. And Winnie will become the new Raila. In our thinking, Raila was not silent because he had fish in his mouth. We think he had retreated to plan his succession. If Ruto must win in 2027, Raila must create someone in his image to protect his dynasty. And because dynasties are selfish, they only create from their own circles. The Raila dynasty will be taken over by Winnie. That is how the Pentagon will come back. Ruto needs support to replace the lost Kikuyus, and Raila needs support to protect the Odinga dynasty. Dear Kikuyus, Tanga Tanga gave you the Kikuyu hustlers power. But the question is, will it last past 2027?
That is the question.
Who would have thought that 69 days into Ruto's presidency, we would be talking about 2027?
Can you imagine?
Maybe we need to dial it back, huh? On that note, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines by. We ask ourselves, is the headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, and finally, thoughtful or just plain lazy? Now, we have 2 headlines that are not politically motivated. People Daily talking about schools, CBC, and The Star revisiting the very sad story of baby Pendo. Though it seems to be having some legs added to it, I think they have some new evidence coming. Out of respect for the family of baby Pendo, we will not toss The Star, we shall park it.
Park it right there.
We will toss the People Daily.
My pleasure.
I think CBC has its days numbered. Between the Daily Nation, Ruto plots to take full control of Parliament. I think GK gave us a fantastic submission. I suggest that we toss the Daily Nation in that regard.
Sure thing.
Leaving us with the Standard, which I think should have our winning headline.
Oh yes, it
the
is the
Maize
topic.
Rebellion. I think that is short, to the point, very catchy.
Yes, and it's
Alright.
and it's what everyone is talking about.
It is what
isn't
everybody's talking
The
about.
Unga revolution is back. We thought it went away.
No, it did not. There we have it. The Standard gives us our winning headline. Onto the political pieces that we call cartoons, where we also have a 3-part criteria. We ask ourselves, are the cartoons humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, and effective or just plain lazy? Let us begin with the Standard. Back to Iyala politics.
Oh yes, Iyala politics. The cartoon shows Winnie Odinga. Winnie is barefoot and dragging very large sneakers behind her. The sneakers are labeled Odinga. In her hands, she's holding a slip of paper called Iyala. Winnie was recently nominated to Iyala, and she has said that for her, the Odinga name has brought more trouble than a blessing. But it is the Odinga name. And
I'm
Baba
curious
is a force.
to understand why Gado has drawn her looking a bit like a unkempt cave woman.
Yeah, not done her very well.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I guess she has to prove herself. She's young.
Yeah.
I guess the whole point is there are very big shoes to fill in the Odinga name.
Indeed,
From Jaramogi to Raila.
All right, I say that we park the Standard while we take a look at the Daily Nation.
Okay, so you have a caricature here of a huge ship called the Kenya Kwanza ship that has thrown a lifeboat onto the water. On one side, rowing away from the ship are the Azimio principals. You have Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, Martha Karua, and Mr. Wiper here, Kalonzo Musyoka. But Jeremiah Kioni, who is the Secretary General of Jubilee, seems to be going towards taking the life raft.
Yeah.
I think this is all the conversation that's been happening over the last week about where Jubilee is going to go.
Yeah.
And the ODM Secretary General, there's been a lot of fight within Azimio, and the ODM Secretary General even said that Jubilee overpromised and underdelivered. So this fight is got a long way to go.
I also think that UDA, now that UDA offered Jubilee that carrot, with voting for Kanini Kega. I think now Jubilee has no choice.
Again, I think we always have to take the artist's drawing into consideration.
Yes.
I find it quite interesting that Ndula has chosen to draw Kenya Kwanza as this large vessel, right? And then the two bits that make up Kenya Kwanza, ODM and Jubilee, are these smaller ships
Very
or
tiny,
these smaller life rafts.
Yeah.
I don't know, what is he saying? Yeah. Okay, I think that we park the Daily Nation and finally take a look at the Star. In the Star, we have the Cherera 4, and they are standing at a guillotine with the IBC label smacked on top of it. And the caption there says, "Another we shall revisit moment." Okay. Now, this revisiting, I actually think is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the original revisiting being after the 2017 election, when Uhuru said that to the judiciary. But I believe that Ruto will, make good on his word.
Yeah.
So, according to Article 251, the removal of office has about a 45-day period. So the first 14 days are where it happens in Parliament, and then that is when a tribunal is proposed to the President. The President appoints the members of the tribunal of his own picking, and they have 30 days with which to give him a recommendation. So in total, that is, 44 days. The 2 weeks for Parliament ends next week.
Yeah.
So if everything goes according to plan and the Cherera 4 are removed, they will spend their final Christmas in IBC and be out before the new year. As we said before, our suggestion to them is to retire before they get embarrassed with that kind of removal.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But I guarantee that the revisiting
is going to happen.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. So what do we say for the winning cartoon today?
I am torn myself between the Daily Nation and the Star. Whichever the gives. I think the Star is very interesting, but whichever wins
I think the Daily Nation is.
I don't know. I'm leaning
funnier
towards the Daily Nation.
The Daily Nation.
All right, there we have it. The Daily Nation gives us our winning cartoon, and we have please toss, and we have a winning headline from the Standard. Today, I want to finish with a quote from the 48 Laws of Power. Specifically, it is law number 45: preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. And the quote is from Machiavelli, and he says, "He who desires or attempts to reform the government of a state and wishes to have it accepted must at least retain the semblance of old forms, so that it may seem to the people that there has been no change in the institutions, even though in fact they are entirely different from the old ones. For the great majority of mankind are satisfied with the appearances as though they were realities."
Wow.
I think that's a little bit of advice for President William Ruto. Take it or leave it. Don't forget, you can find us on your TV screens. We're on Pang, Free to Air, Go TV, and Star Times. Have a lovely evening, and we will see you tomorrow for day 70 of the Ruto presidency.